Call of Juarez Gunslinger is fucking dope. This game deserves a sequel and show that there can be more Western games besides Red Dead Redemption. Gunslinger is an FPS set in Western times. You play as Silas Greaves, a bounty hunter, telling his life story. His tale leads him to history's famous gunslingers from Billy the Kid to Jesse James. Gameplay is fast and fluid, along with a solid story that makes this game one definitely worth checking out. The presentation is fantastic, from visuals to sound. Visually, the game looks like a Western-style comic book with warm colors in desert areas and a mix of forests and swamps. Add to that the way the story is told, and you get this unique presentation. Everyone in the story has great voice actors, and whoever played Silas did an exceptional job.
Steve! Steve!
Huh? Oh, no, I'm listening.
Indians surrounded me from all sides.
Presentation adds to the gameplay. Enemies die with a spray of blood that adds impact to the guns, which makes the combat feel so satisfying. The HUD is very clean. The only thing that will clutter it up will be the skills performed and the numbers flying out of people's heads. I think those should be given the option to turn off, but I personally don't find them too intrusive. The best thing that the HUD provides is solid information on where you are being shot from. The damage indicator has two colors, orange and red. Orange is where enemies are shooting from, but missing, and red is where you're being damaged from. So it's easy to tell where the bullets are coming from and where to prioritize when firing. And if that's not enough, there is a concentration meter that when you set it off paints every enemy red. My main complaint about the visuals is that they can get samey. The towns look alike as do the forest. There are times where you're supposed to be in the same area, but most of the arenas you fight in look too similar. Also, the music is quite good. I didn't pay much attention to it, but when you listen for it, it's pretty good. Overall, solid presentation. B+. Moving on. Combat is simple, but satisfying. The game lets just do 3 types of gameplay: standard gunfights, duels, and boss battles. Let's start with the standard gunfights, as that makes up the bulk of the gameplay. The guns are Western themed, and the gun selection is small. There are 3 different revolvers. 6 shooters are your standard mid-range revolvers with decent damage and range. Rangers are high damage, high range, and my personal favorite. Quick shooters are fast and reload quickly, which makes them excellent in close range guns. Rifles are long distance weapons and can cut through multiple people if you line up the shot correctly. You can swap out pistols or rifles for a sawed-off or standard shotgun respectively. Shotguns are powerful but have limited range. I didn't use shotguns all that much. I found the other weapons to be powerful enough. Rifles are powerful enough to launch through multiple enemies, so power is not an issue there. At close range, dual wielding can take out multiple enemies quickly. Add the fact that shotguns only carry 2 bullets made them near useless. There's a sawed-off rifle that I constantly forget about, but since this is the only weapon in the game that doesn't have a special gold or silver version, I'm guessing the devs forgot about it too. It's nearly the same as the rifle, but with half the bullets. The selection of weapons is limited, and I found myself sticking to the same guns. Every revolver has different uses, and the game should have done the same for rifles and shotguns. Dynamite acts as the game's version of grenades. They can be shot out of the sky, and some fights require dynamite to complete. In this game, the enemy design is good, but the enemy variety is bad. Enemies all die quickly, which is good for many reasons. This allows the game to throw a lot of enemies at you and give the feeling of being overwhelmed. And enemies dying fast keeps the pace of combat up, as you can be a little more aggressive. The game's over-reliance on iron sight aiming does make it feel like any other FPS, where you hop behind cover and aim down sights and fight basically the same fucking reskinned enemies. Nothing shows how much the game relies on iron sights as much as True West difficulty. In True West, there is no HUD, which includes crosshairs. The only way to aim properly is through iron sights, which tells me that this is a skill the devs want the players to learn, which is another reason why enemies die fast, to counteract the slow play that iron sight aiming typically encourages. Enemy variety is lacking. Dual wielding enemies look fucking fabulous, and the only difference that you'll likely notice is between shotgunners and other enemies. And shotgunners can either be armored or unarmored, which doesn't make any difference because the most effective way to kill anyone is by headshot. So it may as well be an army of clones that you're fighting because it doesn't make any difference. Level design is nothing special. Nearly all levels are straightforward linear gauntlets of fights, which doesn't allow many of the levels to stand out. Even the level that says it's so foggy you cannot see and gives you these red bandanas as markers and disables your pathfinding ability is still just a standard linear level that is hard to get lost in, and the red markers are unnecessary for progress. Train levels do provide a nice fast forward progression and are the only ones that stand out. Every other level is a string of gun battles with varying degrees of cover. Most levels follow a similar structure. First is gun battles, and then you either do a boss battle and a duel, or just a duel. Combat has two additional mechanics, concentration and sense of death. Concentration is a slow-mo mechanic that refills as you get kills, and there are skills you can unlock to increase the amount of concentration gained upon headshots, and one to increase the amount of concentration you have in total. While in this mode, all enemies are highlighted red, and bullets become visible, which allows you to dodge them. Sense of death is triggered automatically when you are near death. What happens is when a fatal bullet is shot, they give you the opportunity to dodge the bullet. Something I haven't mentioned is when you get shot a lot, your screen tears up a bit and makes it hard to see, which fucks this up because you only get one chance to dodge the bullet, and not being able to see makes dodging a little difficult. And the moments where the bullet cuts across the screen are hard to avoid, because of the trajectory. If the bullet starts on the left, you expect it to keep going in that direction. But I don't think they're unfair, they're just a little more difficult to avoid. Concentration and sense of death are get out of jail free cards, and it's something players will likely take advantage of. Sense of death recharges very fast, as does concentration. They are very powerful tools without any drawbacks. And some may find the combat too forgiving. True West difficulty doesn't remove these features, it just hides their indicators. I mentioned it already, but I really feel as though the devs wanted the players to be aggressive and gameplay to be fast, and made decisions to encourage this type of play, which is why a lot of these features are in the game, to always allow you to push forward. But the enemies stop appearing as threats, only in large numbers do they feel dangerous. There are 3 separate skill trees for whatever you want your focus to be on, be it shotguns, pistols, or rifles. Or in other words, close, mid, or long range. Experience is gained by killing enemies. Quickly stringing together kills gains more XP, and there are a few skills like headshots and explosions to provide a bonus. The skills have a few issues in my eyes. Some skills are more significant than others. Fast reload, extended ammo, instant kill after sense of death, and dual wielding feels like things every player is likely to unlock, and I think those should be automatic. Those skills are so ingrained in my experience that without them the game feels incomplete. Another problem is that other skills fuck up balance. The dynamite split into 3 makes any boss that you need to use it for a complete pushover. Overall, most of the skills don't have a noticeable impact on the way you play. Most of the skills you have are just enhancements or modifiers to things you already have. Like aiming being slowed for a second while in iron sights, or marking enemies outside your field of vision in concentration. Most of the skills are like that. They add onto the existing mechanics. They don't give you a new tool to use, they just change the ones you already have. QuickTime events are present, but don't worry, they don't suck. If you fail, they don't instantly kill you, the enemies just stay alive. They are easy to predict as Silas becomes stiff, pulls out his revolvers, and button props appear. Pulling them off is visually interesting and can lead to some badass moments. There are 2 types, ones that need button presses and ones that need trigger presses. The indicators are clear, but consistency would be better. Shootouts are by far the most polished and fun part of the game, but that's not all there is. Because endless gun battles, even with combat this good, would get boring, and luckily they were smart enough to add variety to gameplay, which is where duels and bosses come in. Duels have more going for them than most would assume. Focus is gained by keeping your reticle over the target, and speed is gained by positioning your hand over your gun. So, you must keep track of both to be effective, and react when your opponent reaches for his pistol. Real quick, why the fuck is it dishonorable when I pull my gun first, but when they do it, it's fine? Bitches. I don't hear a distinct audio cue to react to, so the game should be clear about when it is time to draw. Each duel is 2 stages. The first is when you gain speed and focus while reacting to your opponent when they reach for their gun. The second is after the gun is pulled. You manually aim and dodge incoming shots. Won't say I like dueling all that much, but I do respect the effort they put into it. The pacing of the duels is completely different to gun battles. Stage 1 is slow, as you track your target and position your hand just waiting for them to reach for their gun. Then you hear a heartbeat. The pace changes. It's all about reacting quickly as you know what's about to happen. Only one of you will be left standing. What pisses me off about duels is when you need to pull the gun. Sometimes I die while reaching for my gun, even when the game says my reaction time is under half a second. I don't know what triggers an instant death. Is it too slow a speed? Not being focused enough? I don't get it. The game doesn't help because it just states be faster next time. Even with everything going on with the duels, all of them start to feel alike. You repeat the same actions over and over. The only difference is how much or how little they move around. The most unique duels are with the Dalton brothers and the final one with Sundance Kid and Butch Cassidy. The Dalton brothers are a standard duel, but there are 2 of them, so you need to wait for one of them to draw and then kill them both. The final duel is a good old-fashioned Mexican standoff against Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid. You have to watch out for both of them. The only way to gain focus is to watch the one who is looking at you. But the same rules still apply. When they reach for their gun, you have to aim at whoever drew on you or else you'll die. And what happened to me more than once is that I frantically kept looking at them and no one was looking at me. And then I got shot. Another similarity between every duel is that you will always dodge right and then fire. You can dodge left afterwards, but it's always to the right first. So dueling became this repetitive act, and since every level ends in one, it gets old fast. And only 2 of them are unique. Boss battles are a letdown. There are 2 types, guys using Gatling guns and standard enemies with inflated health bars. Gatling gun fights require you to move from cover to cover until you can safely throw dynamite at them. The only difference between Old Man Clayton and Kid Curry is the arenas you fight them in. Other than that, everything is virtually identical. Frank James is the same idea as those, but stretched out. It starts out with you avoiding his sniper fire, and then he retreats into his house and becomes just like those fights, and you use dynamite to blow his house off a cliff. There's no challenge, nothing to learn, just hump cover and toss dynamite. These fights shouldn't even be considered fights. The other fights are better, by default. Each of their arenas allow them to feel special. The best one is Curly Bill. He sprints around a small arena with plenty of cover and is deadly up close. So if you end up cornered, you'll likely die. Staying at range and predicting his movement is your best bet. His arena allows him to duck out of sight, and blindly running forward can lead to an early grave as he can kill you very quick. When he's in cover, you can force him out into the open by throwing dynamite at him. Henry Plummet attacks you from on high with his pistols and dynamite and runs from cover to cover. This fight has a mid-boss checkpoint, and the first stage allows you to get comfortable with his attack pattern before the game throws in additional enemies. His attack patterns aren't varied. He's either actively shooting at you or throwing dynamite like a bitch. And that's all there is to his fight. Emmett Dalton and the Sundance Kid are nearly identical. They have a shotgun in a closed-off arena and you just shoot them and hope not to get shot. There isn't a lot of cover, you die fast, and they have a lot of health, which made these fights the most annoying. It may seem as though I went through all the bosses quickly, but there isn't much to say about them. For the Gatling fights, you just need to be in a safe location and throw dynamite. The other bosses just hide in cover and then pop some shots at you, rinse repeat, or you hide in cover and pop some shots off, rinse repeat. Even though there are 3 modes of gameplay, all of them feel internally similar. Gun battles are great, but most of the fights feel similar. Duels are more than just a simple quick time event, but you end up doing the same thing in the same order multiple times. Boss battles are just normal enemies with inflated health bars, and the only thing special about their encounters is the arenas you fight them in. The game is better for having all these modes, don't get me wrong, but there is room for improvement in all of them. Off the bat, the story presentation is great. You get a sense that you're playing the character in the story. Let me explain that dumb statement. You're at the whim of the story being told. The world around you will change according to what is being said. They will take your ammo away from you, objects will appear out of thin air, and new passages will appear in front of you.
But luckily, a barn materialized as if right before my eyes. I scrambled up top to get a better view.
My favorite example is a swamp mission that starts out nice and sunny, but changes into a foggy forest. A theme I noticed in the story is truth. Some of the people he's telling his story to doubt anything that he is saying is true.
I never heard so much malarkey in my life.
You think he's bullshitting us?
You don't think he's Silas Greaves?
I think he's just some old drunk looking for some free liquor.
Nuggets of truth are collectibles that provide some historical facts on the people, places, and events that took place and are worth collecting. They're a pretty good read. Silas' story is crazy. He hops around decades of the Wild West's most notable years. His story is about how he, and he alone, takes down several gangs and is the killer of the most notable cowboys of the Wild West. And here's where I'll put my spoiler warning. If you want to go in not knowing the big story moments, skip to the timestamp in the description. They gone? Good. I'm going to speak about the twist the story has and then work from there. Silas is looking for his brother's murderers and tracks down their killers. It's what starts his journey and turns him into a bounty hunter. The last of the killers, Roscoe Bob Bryant, is hiding out in a saloon and changed his name to Ben. Fucking genius. Knowing that Ben is Bob recontextualizes the whole story. It gives a reason to why Silas entered that specific tavern, and his banter with Ben takes on a new meaning once you know this.
He was determined to protect his brothers. I understood how he felt. Right. See, there's a reason so many outlaw gangs are made up of brothers. Being a brother is a very sacred thing.
You have a choice at the end: revenge or redemption. Revenge entails killing Bob in a duel and walking off after permanently scarring everyone there for life. Choosing redemption instead means that Silas decides to walk away the bigger man, and even at this late stage in his life, finds peace. The larger story in the present day has more going for it than the stories of the past. Silas' story seems like a typical string of gunfights without a lot of reasons for any of it. You don't have a reason as to why you're hunting these men down, and none of the people you kill are characterized in any way, so the player doesn't have any reason to kill them. Before the twist, the story is entertaining but doesn't have enough to speak about in depth. It's the revelation of Ben's identity along with Silas' story about his brothers that gives some intrigue. And there's not enough internally in the story to tell how much of Silas' story is true. Let's mess with those that skipped ahead. And that's why you don't fuck horses. The campaign isn't the only thing the game has to offer. There's an arcade mode and a duel challenge. I've already said everything I need to on duel, so I won't repeat myself. Duel challenge is a test to see if you can get through a string of duels with 5 lives. There are 15 in total, and they add in the boss battles into the list along with the other duels you do for the story. Arcade mode uses remixed versions of existing levels. You select the starting class of weapons: pistol, shotgun, or rifles. And each class has a set of skills you can unlock through using the class. This forces the player to use a specific class if they want all the abilities. A change I would make is that you can select your guns in up to 6 abilities. You can keep some of the restrictions, such as using a rifle means you cannot start off with dynamite, or just have a loadout limit so players cannot be overpowered for a given mission. What's in place is good enough, I guess, but that's just a suggestion I had. The ranking system contains a big flaw. It doesn't tell you how close you are to the next star. The joy of finishing with a better score is lessened when it's still not good enough for the next rank. Give the player a clear goal to reach for so they know how much they need to improve. Goals provide something to strive for and increases replay value when you know you're close to the next star. Call of Juarez. Yeah, I'll just keep that. Gunslinger is a good game. The gunplay, story, and presentation are all solid. And these are the type of games I enjoy playing a lot. If you're interested in the game, I hope I've provided a good look at the pros and cons and would love if the series continues in the future. What is here isn't anything unique, but is still enjoyable, with enough variety to be interesting through its runtime. There is room for improvement on every side of gameplay, but the gameplay is better than the sum of its parts. Gun battles are fast and impactful. duels have enough going for it to be a different type of gameplay to master, and bosses are there too. I played through this game 3 times and will play the 4th, and the arcade and duel provide a lot of bang for your buck. And something I haven't mentioned is how fucking goddamn cool these comic book intros are to some of these characters. Thank you for watching. I have other videos of varying degrees of quality. Please like and subscribe. Goodbye.